You're standing in the ruined palace, the last piece of the puzzle clicking into place. That cryptic old man's warning, the strange crest on the assassin's blade, they all led to this moment. The kingdom's collapse started long before you ever arrived, and you didn't see it until now. Hello, Brian, viewers here, and this is Stochastic Agency, where I'm kicking off a series of videos prompted by the comments section. At Real World Games mentioned that he was looking for more inspiration in things like connecting stories through foreshadowing and new ways to highlight that actions in one area can impact life in the others. Foreshadowing and consequences in TTRPGs. Foreshadowing enriches any narrative, turning it from a series of random details into puzzle pieces, transforming it from a session that's what's happening into, oh, I see where this is going. But there can be a snag here. Role-playing games are unpredictable. Players can miss clues, ignore hints, or take things in drastically wild directions. So how do you invoke foreshadowing in games that sometimes thrive on improvisation? So in an attempt to address at Real World Games, I'm going to offer a few ideas about how foreshadowing can be used as symbolic recurrence, consequences as echoes, and false payoffs. Symbolic recurrence. Repetition makes things stick. That hooded figure watching you from the shadows that seems to pop up every now and then, the same symbols appearing on an old book and on a rival's dagger. Patterns of reoccurrence build anticipation step by step. Players may start connecting the dots, even if they don't fully understand them yet. Perhaps the party continues to encounter the name Blackthorn. First as an ancient kingdom, then a defunct noble house, and finally as the name of a mysterious criminal syndicate. And what's the connection? It's a mystery casting a shadow of attention. There are gaps in the puzzle. So how the players put them together could have mismatches. Or let's say a strange celestial event occurs. 2 moons align. The party first hears about it in folklore, then notices it in an ancient map, and then finally sees it in the sky almost right before a major villain makes their first move. This is precisely what I mean by symbolic recurrence, and why repeated events in varied forms can drive attention to something. Consequences as echoes. The dropping of minor details early that can gain significance later builds suspense. So maybe the players dismiss a street preacher as a raving lunatic until they begin to realize that he is predicting a major catastrophe. Or they meet an exiled prince who seems harmless until he returns leading an army. A merchant asks the players to retrieve a seemingly unimportant package. That's never happened before, right? And they deliver it with little thought. Months later, they learn that that package contains stolen relics from an empire now hunting them down. A bard sings a song about a hero's betrayal, and in the background of a tavern somewhere, it's just flavor, right? Until much later, when the party realizes the song was foreshadowing the fate of their own paladin. Now, Chekhov's gun is a narrative principle that states that all elements in a story should be relevant to the plot. It's a way of creating suspense. It's definitely a tool for foreshadowing. So what potential future events that may occur have seeds that you can foreshadow in present situations? False payoffs leading to true reveals. This is when the players think they've solved something. Happens all the time, but they've only really scratched the surface. They stopped an assassin, but that attack was just a distraction from a more significant coup. It keeps them engaged, constantly reevaluating what they think they know. The party believes they've found the villain behind the series of attacks, a corrupt duke. They take him down, only to realize that he was just a pawn in a much larger conspiracy. The players are warned about a great darkness rising and assume it's an oncoming war. They prepare accordingly, But in truth, this prophecy was about a much deeper existential threat, like the land itself becoming cursed. And while I use the word false here, it's not worthless or meaningless. The players learn something, just not everything. Part of why foreshadowing is so helpful is that it alludes to a deeper narrative. And when it happens, it is the breadcrumb trail of events, encounters, and clues, all pointing towards something bigger or impending, showing how actions ripple across the world. Foreshadowing, in context, sets the stage, but consequences bring the imagined world to life. Your players' choices should echo beyond the moment, shaping the setting in ways they don't expect. So, to follow up on symbolic recurrence, consequences as echoes, and false payoffs, here are a few suggestions about how you could go about doing this. Cascading consequences. Every choice creates ripples. The players kill a warlord, great, the land is free. But now, rival factions are fighting for control. Maybe one is worse than the other original problem. The warlord was tough, but these guys are vicious. Even small actions like favoring one merchant over another can trigger larger shifts. The players burn down the cult's temple, thinking they've won, but all those displaced cultists now begin to scatter across the land, embedding themselves in new cities, spreading their doctrine, and making any recruitment that they do harder to track. The party steals from a noble thinking it's just a harmless crime. They could later find out that that noble was funding a rebellion, and now the rebellion is starved for resources. Information is a robust resource, and rumors are an excellent game mechanic, whether you realize it or not. Maybe the players joke about a cursed relic they found. An NPC overhears, and now suddenly that fake story spreads, changing how the world reacts to them. Lies, half-truths, and misunderstandings can have just as much of an impact as direct actions and statements, and sometimes even the truth. The players can spread rumors to cover their tracks, only to have it spiral out of control, creating a political crisis that they never intended. An NPC misinterprets something the players say, leading an entire town to believe the adventurers are legendary heroes, when actually they're not. Now they're suddenly being called upon to solve problems they didn't sign up for. Echoes from the past. Nothing should be happening in a vacuum. I think you may have heard me say that before. The town they saved months ago, well, now it's growing into a small kingdom, or fiefdom. Its leader is eager to return the favor, or collect on a debt. That enemy they humiliated, well, they have had time to regroup, learn, and strike back in a new and unexpected way. The players left behind an orphan child when they killed the bandit leader. Years later, that child has grown into a ruthless bounty hunter seeking revenge. A powerful mage they once spared has been using their knowledge to alter the course of history. And now the players must decide whether their mercy was a mistake. So foreshadowing and consequences turn your imagined world into a living, breathing place. They reward engaged players, help to create a satisfying long-term narrative, and lend meaning to each session as it's played. There's always a but, though. We have a potential catch here, and that's time. The expediency of fun over engagement could override the use of any of these suggestions. For many of these suggestions, to do their job and work, the players need the time to reflect on past events. If a group is just moving from encounter to event, with no downtime for inter-character engagement, role-playing, and reflection, then the effort or value of these suggestions is potentially lost. So the next time you're planning a game, don't just think about what's happening now. Think about what's still to come. Have you ever pulled off any tremendous foreshadowing moments or seen a choice come back to bite the players later? Share your experiences in the comments below. Like, dislike, and subscribe, if you can appreciate the long reach of a little foreshadowing.